You see a used motorcycle online. The price is tempting, a few hundred or a couple $1,000 less than new. You think, this is the smart move. Save money, learn the ropes, upgrade later. But what you don't realize is that traffic, not the bike, is the real test. If you're thinking about buying a used motorcycle and hitting the streets, listen up, because I learned the hard way, and I'm about to save you from learning the same way. Here are 10 things I wish I knew before riding a used motorcycle in traffic. Number 1, your brakes are only as good as the last owner's standards. Used motorcycle brakes might look decent at first glance, plenty of pad left, rotors not warped. That doesn't mean they're safe. What you don't see is often what matters most. Old brake fluid, uneven pad wear, spongy feel at the lever, or air in the lines. And in real traffic, when a car cuts in front of you and you need to stop right now, that split-second delay can be the difference between a close call and an accident. I learned this the hard way when I nearly rear-ended a BMW on day 2 of commuting. Since then, I've made it a rule. Flush the brake fluid on any used bike before thinking about traffic. It costs next to nothing and takes less than an hour, but it could save your life. Don't trust your safety to the previous owner's definition of good enough. Number 2, mirrors lie, and blind spots are worse on bikes. You think cars have blind spots? Try riding a used motorcycle with bar-end mirrors that shake like jelly or mounts that barely hold. Most stock or aftermarket mirrors on older bikes either show your elbow, the sky, or a fuzzy blur of what might be a car. And in traffic, that's a gamble you don't want to take. I once switched lanes thinking it was clear, only to hear a horn and glance left to see a Prius riding my flank. I never saw it in the mirror. That's when it hit me. Head checks aren't just smart, they're mandatory. No matter how confident you feel, always turn your head before changing lanes. And if your mirrors are junk, replace them immediately. Don't rely on wobbly glass when your life is on the line. A quick look back might feel old school, but it can save your neck. Literally. If this is hitting home, make sure to subscribe for more real-world riding tips and drop a comment if your mirrors have ever betrayed you in traffic. Number 3, your clutch might be your worst enemy. Used clutches have a nasty habit of hiding their problems until you're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. During a short test ride, they might feel fine. Engagement seems smooth, no obvious slip. But once you're creeping along in first gear, feathering the lever every few seconds, their true condition shows. Maybe it starts dragging, maybe it slips under load, or maybe the friction zone is so razor thin you stall at every light. Suddenly you're lurching forward, riding the clutch and getting dirty looks from drivers behind you. I've been there, sweating in traffic, trying not to embarrass myself on a bike that clearly needed work. If you're buying used, factor in the cost of a clutch cable or even a full clutch rebuild. Don't ignore minor quirks. Traffic doesn't care about your learning curve. It expects you to keep moving. And a bad clutch turns every red light into a trial by fire. Or everyone's out to kill you and no one sees you. I wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not. On a motorcycle, especially an older used one, you're practically invisible. Drivers are texting, eating, half asleep, or blindly merging with zero awareness of the two-wheeled shadow beside them. You've got no crumple zone, a horn that sounds like a dying bird, and if your bike's lights are dim or your signals are misaligned, you're even harder to spot. I've had drivers look me dead in the eyes and still cut me off like I wasn't there. One pickup truck actually started merging into my lane as if I didn't exist. That was the day I stopped assuming I was seen. The only way to survive traffic is to ride like a ghost. Expect the worst, predict every possible move the cars around you might make, and never trust a turn signal. It might be a leftover from 3 intersections ago. Hyper-awareness isn't paranoia, it's protection. Number 5, used tires are often just legal, not safe. Here's the trap. You buy a used bike, glance at the tires and think, looks fine to me. There's tread, no visible cracks, and they passed inspection. But what you don't check is the DOT date, the tiny number that tells you when the tire was made. If it's more than 5 years old, chances are that rubber is hard, dry, and unpredictable. I learned this when I hit a painted line in light rain and felt my rear tire slide like it was on ice. That bargain tire nearly put me in the ER. Used tires may look legal, but that doesn't make them safe. Old rubber loses grip, especially under lean or sudden braking. And squared-off tires, they'll fight every corner like it owes them money. New tires are an investment, but compared to medical bills or a totaled bike, they're a no-brainer. If there's any doubt, replace them before your first real ride. Number 6, heat is your new enemy, and used bikes run hot. Riding in traffic is already rough, but riding a used motorcycle in traffic during summer, that's mechanical torture. Unlike a car, your engine doesn't get a break. There's no inflow when you're crawling at 5 miles an hour, and if the previous owner didn't maintain it properly, you're in for a meltdown. Clogged radiators, worn thermostats, or fans that kick in too late or not at all can turn your bike into a pressure cooker. I remember being stuck at a long light watching the temp gauge climb into the red. My right leg felt like it was being slow roasted. I genuinely thought the bike was about to boil over or seize. After that scare, I immediately flushed the coolant, tested the fan switch, and swapped in a high-performance coolant. Problem solved. I just wish I'd done it on day one. Don't wait until you smell boiling antifreeze. If it's running hot, fix it before traffic cooks your engine and your nerves. Number 7. Lane positioning is everything, especially with worn suspension. Suspension's one of those things new riders barely think about, especially on a used bike. It feels fine on a smooth road. Traffic doesn't happen on perfect roads. It happens on cracked asphalt, potholes, construction zones, and paint lines slicker than oil. And if your suspension is soft, leaky, or out of tune, you'll feel every bump like a body slam. I hit a pothole mid-corner once and nearly lost the front end because my fork oil was basically water and my rear shock was toast. That's when I started riding smarter, not harder. In traffic, lane positioning becomes your best defense. You start scanning for hazards, avoiding manhole covers, staying out of the slippery middle of the lane, and looking 10 cars ahead. Because when your suspension can't save you, your choices have to. Don't just react to the road, read it. Fix your suspension before it turns every commute into a gamble. Number 8. Traffic will force you to develop slow speed control or crash trying. Everyone gets obsessed with speed, power, and how a bike pulls in third gear. But in traffic, none of that matters. What saves you isn't throttle, it's balance, clutch finesse, and low speed control. If I could rewind time, I'd spend hours in a parking lot mastering figure eights, tight U-turns, and feathering the throttle without jerking. Because real traffic throws real problems. Narrow lanes, stop-and-go congestion, awkward merges, and uphill lights where stalling is both embarrassing and dangerous. And used bikes don't help. Throttles can stick, idles surge, gearing might be off. It's not always rider error, it's the machine's quirks exposing your weak spots. I once fumbled a slow-speed turn and dropped the bike right in front of a bus stop crowd. Pride hurt more than the fairing. Don't wait for traffic to humble you. Master slow control before the road demands it, because at 3 miles per hour, balance is harder than speed. And a shaky stall can cost you more than your ego. Number 9, indicators don't cancel themselves, and cars assume you're turning forever. This one's painfully embarrassing and more dangerous than you'd think. You make a left turn, merge into traffic, and then forget to cancel your indicator. Harmless, right? Wrong. Every driver around you now thinks you're about to turn again. They hesitate, they stop abruptly, or worse, they pull out in front of you, assuming you'll slow or change lanes. That moment of confusion is when accidents happen. Most new bikes come with self-canceling indicators, but used bikes, almost never. And it's surprisingly easy to forget, especially during the chaos of traffic. I've done it more than once and watched cars react to a signal I had no idea was still blinking. Since then, I've trained myself. Every time I straighten up from a turn, my thumb hits the cancel button. It's a small motion, but it makes a big difference. Don't trust memory. Build the habit, because a forgotten blinker can turn into a very real crash. Number 10, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of preparation. Here's the final truth, and it applies more than ever when you're riding a used bike in traffic. You don't magically perform under pressure. You fall back on whatever you've practiced. Watching videos, reading tips, or imagining what you'd do in a close call isn't the same as doing it. When a van slams its brakes or a car drifts into your lane without warning, you won't have time to think, you'll just react. And if you haven't practiced braking, swerving, or clutch control under pressure, you're gambling with your own safety. Riding a used motorcycle isn't about being fearless, it's about being prepared. Check your gear, know your controls, practice emergency stops. Do drills when traffic isn't around, because when chaos comes, and it will, it's your preparation that decides whether you stay upright or not. Trust me, traffic brings surprises, and the dumbest thing you can do is expect to figure it out in the moment. And there you have the 10 things I wish I knew before riding a used motorcycle in traffic. If this helps you feel more prepared for the chaos of traffic, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me the one lesson you learned the hard way. Got a buddy about to buy a used bike? Share this video before they find out the painful way. More riding tips, safety breakdowns, and real-world advice coming your way. Because this channel isn't about showing off. It's about staying alive and riding better. Thanks for watching. Now go check your mirrors and cancel that blinker.